Okay, back at some of the planning, and then we'll go through another discussion, separate video around some logistics on vehicles, because something has come up with the Jeep that's going to cause me to make a couple changes to that plan. So, from a trip perspective, we left off down here on day 49, looking at First State National Historic Park in Wilmington, and trying to, or Newcastle, Delaware, and trying to spend some time there. Then the next trip, it really takes us back down through Baltimore and over to Gettysburg National Military Park and Museum. The interesting thing is, one of the interesting things, we'd mentioned this with Georgia, although it looks like Georgia may be getting a national park. That's sitting before Congress right now to have a large area in Georgia converted into a national park. But Pennsylvania, like Georgia, does not have any national parks, as well as several of the other southern states. And so for our Pennsylvania stop, we're going to do the Gettysburg National Military Park. Now, I may make some adjustments as we go and maybe come up through, and instead of doing Gettysburg, may look at some of the Revolutionary War battlefields. So, potentially stopping at Trenton as opposed to going to Thomas Edison. But right now, I've got us going to Gettysburg National Military Park. So this is going to be on day 50. And that gives us, essentially a, let's call it a, just trying to get my bearings here, about 2.5 hour, 3 hour drive to Gettysburg, and then we'll spend the rest of the day at Gettysburg. So I think that's a day 50 essentially goes to Gettysburg. Day 51, I've got us driving up to the Thomas Edison National Historic Park here in New Jersey, and again, this is kind of where a lot of the Edison inventions and such were concocted. And Edison spent a significant amount of time in New Jersey, so this is in West Orange, and figured on day 51 we'd hit that and then continue on to Weir's Farm National Historic Park, which is in Connecticut. So that takes us through Pennsylvania into Connecticut, and then hit Weir Farm National Historic Park. And again, I think the opportunity at Weir Farm is really to stop somewhere, again, Connecticut being another one of these states that doesn't have a national park, to hit one of the national historic parks instead. And this was a kind of original colonial settler type location. So hit Weir Farm. So we've got about a 3.5 hour drive from Gettysburg, spend a couple hours at Thomas Edison National Park, or National Historic Park, then drive up to Weir Farm, spend a couple hours, maybe an hour and a half there, and then kind of spend a night somewhere in Connecticut. So day 51 will end somewhere in the vicinity of Weir Farm National Park. Day 52 will hit Roger Williams National Memorial on the way up into Boston. So day 52 will, my plan would be to leave out pretty early. Combination of, traffic headed into New York coupled with, there's a lot to see, but not a lot to see from what we're trying to accomplish with the national park tours in Connecticut. Go hit Roger Williams National Memorial, which is, Roger Williams was the founder of Providence Plantation, which is kind of, Rhode Island used to be two separate colonies, Providence Plantation and Rhode Island. And so we'll hit Roger Williams. That's about a 2.5 hour drive from Weir Farm. And then we'll take the short hour or so drive up to Boston. Boston, and the reason I had talked about maybe subbing in Trenton, Valley Forge, PA for Gettysburg, is Boston is really and the Boston area in general has just a wealth of Revolutionary War, colonial history, and so it may make more sense to start to tie some of that in as we come up the seaboard And that would also save us some time from kicking all the way out to Gettysburg over here. So Boston, you've got the National Historical Park, you got Bunker and Breeds Hill, you've got Lexington and Concord, you've got the Paul Revere House, you've got the Adams, both John and John Quincy Adams came out of Boston. You got the Kennedy Museum. So there's a lot of history in Boston, and I just think it would make more sense, potentially to kind of shoot up to Boston after hitting Roger Williams on day 52, and maybe spend day 52 and 53 in Boston. It's been a long time, probably 30 years since I've been to Boston. And so be able to spend a little bit of time in Boston, really taking in that city. The last time I was there, I was looking at Harvard Business School. So didn't end up going to Harvard Business School and haven't been to Boston since. So I'm looking forward to spending a little bit of time in Boston. I also had relatives, a couple of my relatives, most famous being William Bradford, came over on a Mayflower. So I may hit Plymouth as well, just to go hit the where the ancestral footsteps first started here in the United States. So it may be kind of a kick over here and then a kick up to Boston, in which case, again, this is day 51, 52, I'll spend in Boston, really spend some time there. And my family kind of landed in combination of New York City and Boston, going back now 400 plus years. So it's just and it's something that I'd really like to be able to spend some time exploring. Once we leave the Boston area on day 52, we'll go day 53 all the way up to Acadia National Park. Now, Acadia National Park is known as a very beautiful, very unique national park, and it's one. So having grown up in upstate New York, a lot of these states are ones I never visited. So I never visited New Hampshire, Maine, or Vermont, even though I lived in the state right next door to it. But I've been to Alaska. So the thought process is leave Boston on day 52, spend day 53 up here in Acadia. It's about a 5-hour drive from Boston up to Acadia National Park, and spend a day up in Acadia. Then day 56, we'll leave Acadia and then drive back down, essentially through to St. Gaudens National Historical Park in New Hampshire, and then kick over to the Marsh Billings Rockefeller National Historical Park in Vermont. So this is about a 6-hour drive. About a 6-hour drive from Acadia to St. Gaudens, and then another hour or so, plus minus, over to Marsh Billings. And then our final stop, and so hit those two, and then spend the night probably in this area here. Again, if I start kind of modifying the trip to pick up some of the Revolutionary War components, we may head up to Fort Ticonderoga before heading down to Saratoga National Historical Park on day 55 or 56. And this is the Battle at Saratoga was a significant turning point in the war for the colonial forces. They were able to defeat Burgoyne and really screwed up the British plan to split the colonies basically into 3 chunks and then destroy them piecemeal. So end of it, this is about a 2.5-hour drive here. It's probably 4.5 to 5 hours full day if I go up to Ticonderoga and then down. So we'll just assume that that's likely to be the case as I get closer to day-to-day planning, and we will terminate this piece here at Saratoga National Historic Park.